Bonjour and welcome to the Pistons Fanatic. I am your host, Dave Dalton, and I'm excited to share my passion and perspective of our Detroit Pistons as we go on this fantastic voyage together. I have been a diehard Piston fan since the days of Dave Bing and Bob Lanier. I've also been a varsity basketball coach of a very successful program in northern Michigan. Currently, my daughter and I are coaching one of the best AAU teams in the country. Well, the Pistons are just finishing up. This is Sunday evening. They just got done losing to the Knicks, and they put up a gallant fight, and they're preparing to fly to France. And I'm excited for the team. I was a high school coach for a long time, and there's a lot to be said for taking trips. Like I would go on trips with my team. I would take them down to Piston games, or we would go down the river and they would spend the night at my house, or we did lots of different activities where the team got to spend and hang out together. And like on our AU team, when you hang out at the hotel and you get to spend a couple days together, that is so great for the team. And our team is so young. We have a lot of guys who are should be in college, and so I think that this is going to be a great time for them, especially for Killian. I mean, exciting that he's been playing much better the last couple of months. And I was concerned when I knew that trip was coming to France and Killian was so awful at the beginning of the year that would be, really sad for him to go there and, not get to play much. And I don't know. So anyway, I know that some of the guys have been talking about how he's going to be their tour guide and he's giving them tips on where to go and what to eat and things. So it should be a great time for them. We have had this packed schedule. We have played more games than anybody in the NBA, and a big part of this, I mentioned before, was because of this trip. So now we play the Chicago Bulls on Thursday in France, and then we don't play again until Monday. So basically, we're for a whole week we're playing one game, and they've been playing every other day or back-to-backs. We have had more back-to-backs at this point than anybody in the league. We're almost done with all of our back-to-backs already. Our schedule is going to get lighter, and we've played more away games than we've played home games. So that's going to be, the second half, that's going to flip around. So we're going to have more home games. And, looking at our schedule, especially the last 25 games or so, it's our schedule, on paper is going to be easier. That creates a conundrum for me. I know if you listen to this podcast, my hope is that the Pistons finish with one of the bottom three records and have a 14% chance to draft Victor or even maybe get Scoot. And so, we've just struggled. And just you look at our current state, we're playing these games. We're playing without any post players except Noel. Stu came back tonight and then he got in foul trouble right away. But we've been playing with no post players, and we just got destroyed by the Pelicans because we didn't have a post player. So this season is not a wash. We have seen lots of great effort and improvement by our young players. But like we mentioned from the beginning of the year in the preseason podcast, there's going to be ups and downs, and young players have that. We are concerned, and I am concerned, we need to be a better defensive team. We are second to the last, but you look at all the teams that are at the bottom defensively, and they're all the young rebuilding teams are the bottom defending teams. So it's not unnormal. We still need to draft or sign players looking towards getting players who are better defensively and athletic and show that they like to play defense. So I do think that I mentioned we had a podcast about the next Piston coach. I'm not saying that Coach Casey should be fired this year. I think that he should stay through this year and then be part of the organization later. But I do think that at the end of this year would be a great time to change. And I think that if we got a new coach in there that could change things up defensively and make us a better defensive team. We've seen teams, again, I mentioned last year, Boston, they had the same coach, but they turned it around. Whatever they did in the middle of the season, they went from being a 500 team, then all of a sudden they locked everybody down defensively, and they were the best defensive team by far last year. And the Dallas Mavericks did the same thing. So I think if we get a new coach at the end of this year, it might be good for the development of our players. Coach Casey has done a lot for us, and he has done a lot for our young players. He has been the kind of person that I would want to coach my son, and he has, I think, shown the players, and he's had an even temperament where he hasn't just acted crazy, and he's played the young guys sometimes not quite as much as I'd like to, but most of the time he has. And so before we dive into things a little bit deeper, I wanted to mention we had the little incident with Orlando where Mo Wagner shoved Killian into the bench, and then Killian came back at him from behind and threw his forearm into the back of Mo Wagner's head and got suspended for 3 games. And people around the league said they try to act like, the Pistons are the same thugs or whatever that happened back in the Malice at the Palace. But I just have a little story for you. I live in northern Michigan. I still do. I live on a beautiful river. I have no neighbors. It's God's country. It truly is. But to go to the Palace, it was 3.5 hours to go to a game. So I drove down in 2004. I went to every single home playoff game, every round. And sometimes I would, when in the finals started at 9 o'clock, and so I would get home at like 3 in the morning, and then I would go teach the next day. So, but one year I was going to a Piston game, and I brought along my JV coach, Jeremy Gugelmus, and we went to watch the Pistons play the Indiana Pacers. And the Pacers were, the Pistons and the Pacers were the 2 best teams in the Eastern Conference, and they were going to play each other. And the Pistons kind of had their numbers, but they had a lot of great players, Jermaine O'Neal and Reggie Miller, and just a lot of good players. Meta World Peace. So they had all those guys. And so we're watching the game, and I had this way that, unlike being at Little Caesars where it's hard to get out and get on the expressway, I knew right where to park so I could get in my car and get on the expressway and be taken off up north on 75 in just like 2 minutes. One of the things I'd like to do, if the game was out of hand and I knew who was going to win and stuff, sometimes I would try to leave. I still would stay as long as I could, but I found that by leaving even 1 minute early, you could, avoid a lot of the big rush. So the Pistons were getting beat by quite a bit that night, and so we took off because we had to drive back 3.5 hours. So we started out, we got out of the stadium, and we're out in the parking lot. And just as we're in the parking lot, they had the broadcast piped in to speakers out in the parking lot at the Palace. And so we're out there, and then all of a sudden, all hell breaks loose, and that's the Malice at the Palace. So I was at the game that the Malice at the Palace occurred, but I was not in the arena. I was just outside the arena when all that broke loose. So I don't know if they find that an interesting story, but it was. Today I'm wearing my Isaiah Thomas autographed jersey. I know you can't probably see it, and it's autographed on the back, but it's, a great memory for me having this jersey. Isaiah, I loved him and everything about him. So, like I said, I want the Pistons to improve. I want them to get better. I want them to have competitive games. And, unlike the game that we had against the Philadelphia 76ers where we got annihilated 147-116, and that is not what I want. But I like to see games where especially our young players play well and show great signs, and it's happened. It does not happen consistently, but it has happened. But I will want you to know that every night I am cheering my heart out for all the teams with the lower records to lose their games. So I want Sacramento. I'm watching their scores. I don't care if there's a big matchup between 2 of the top teams. If the Celtics are playing the Bucks, I don't really care about that game. I care about if Sacramento can upset somebody, or Charlotte can beat somebody, or Houston Rockets, if they can. So I'm always pulling for those guys to win games so that we can finish with one of the bottom 3 records and have that 14% chance to get Wembanyama or Scoot or another good player. So if you watch the NBA, it's just been crazy. The Celtics, as great as they're certainly one of the top teams by far, and they were playing Oklahoma City the other night, and it was they got blown out by 30 or 40, and they gave up 150 points in regulation. And that night, Shea wasn't playing for Oklahoma City, and they still gave up that. But that's just there's a lot of scoring going on in the league, and I know there's different ideas and reasons why people think that that's going to happen. Just like, why is there so many guys scoring 40 or 50 points, or even 60 or 70 points this year? And there's one of the theories is that these star players are just getting lots of usage, and the pace has picked up a little bit, but the star players are handling the ball more and more, and so they're scoring more and more. So, like I said, I'm cheering for all these teams to win so much, but I want our Pistons to look good. I want them to play hard, and in the end, I just like it, And once in a while, if we can have a game like we did against the Timberwolves, the Timberwolves had won every game. I think they had won 4 in a row since we had beaten them back at the beginning of the year of January. But this game, the Pistons came out, had 135 points, 135 to 118, and everybody was on fire. Saddiq had 31 points. He played 37 minutes. So Coach Casey usually always plays everybody 30 minutes at the most usually, and he has been playing some players more, obviously, because we've had so many injuries, so he's been forced. But Saddiq was on fire, man. He had 10 for 16, 4 of 6, 7 for 8 from the free throw line, 4 of 6 on threes. He's been coming around on the three-point shot after being in quite a slump. 7 for 8 from the line, 6 rebounds. But again, I'm going to keep on hammering it. I do think that Saddiq does not care about passing the ball. I think he cares about. He had 1 assist. He had all those touches, scored all those points, and he was so efficient. But he just hasn't shared the ball that much. So Bojan was 27 minutes, or played 32 minutes, had 27 points, and he was hotter than hot. 9 for 15, 5 for 8 from 3, 4 for 5 on 3 free throws. Noel, that was the big game for him. So it is still a mystery to everyone why he hasn't played. And even, I guess he was injured tonight when we played the Knicks because he didn't play at all. And we were down to, Stewart was our only post player, and then he got 2 fouls right away. So, but Noel came in and he showed what he had done so well in his, career, where he's not the best offensive player, but he blocked 4 shots in that third quarter and got 3 steals, and that's when the game was turned around. But obviously we shot the ball so well. Ivy had, he was just fabulous. 18 points, 40 minutes, 7 for 11 from the floor, and 2 for 3 on threes. He didn't shoot free throws well, which he's been inconsistent shooting free throws. He's going to really certainly have to improve on that. 4 rebounds, 8 assists, which is just fantastic. And Killian had a great game also with 18 points. He struggled from 3, 1 for 6, but he was 7 for 14 from the floor and 3 for 3 on free throws. And he had 9 assists, which is awesome. I mean, he's been more and more fun to watch. So I mentioned this before, and I still don't know the answer. So you would think that, Coach Casey's played veterans, and sometimes more than I would like him to, and sometimes at the, meaning that the young players didn't get to play as much. But Burks is the mystery to me, because he plays 20 minutes every night, no matter how well he plays, which is really well most nights. And this night he had 13 points, 20 minutes, 4 for 7, 3 for 3 on threes, 2 for 2. He had 5 assists. He played 20 minutes. He had 5 assists. He had the highest plus minus on our team. And ironically, Saddiq had 31, but he was only plus 2, where Bojan was plus 11, and Ivy was plus 8, and Killian was plus 13, and Burks was plus 15. And it is, I've mentioned this many times that the plus minus is not always accurate, but I will say this over the year that Saddiq has consistently been lower plus minus, even when he plays well. And I don't know, partway because he doesn't share the ball, and partway we know that he's not a very good defender, and so I think that all plays into it. But and again, other players on our team aren't good. So what's so impressive about this win, and says so much about our team and about the culture that Coach Casey has helped create, and the leadership of our team, having Stu there, and Saddiq, I believe, is a great leader because he's, his work ethic and his determination and his fight, whether he plays good or bad, I can never fault his effort. And and we have Cade, and Cade is a culture creator, and he has been gone for a while. He can't take credit for this because he's been rehabbing or taking it easy after surgery. But he is a big part of our culture, and he is a big reason why I believe in our team's culture going forward. Hami has been sensational lately. I've talked many times. I still don't know what's going to happen when everybody's healthy. I always thought that Hami was the odd man out, partly just because he can't shoot, but he's 14 points, 6 for 9. He's just been so energetic and creating chaos on the court and dunking and blocking shots and getting rebounds, and he's been phenomenal. And against the 76ers, the team was awful, but Ivy had a really good game. 17 points, only 24 minutes, 4 for 8 from the floor, 3 for 5 on 3, 6 for 6 from the line, and 4 assists. So that's a great game. So, and this game, another time, Burks, he had 16 points, 20 minutes, and so that is a mystery. It was a mystery that Noel never got to play any time, even when we were short in numbers in the post, until it got, downright completely desperation where he finally did get to play some. So we'll jump over to the Knicks game. This was just tonight, the most recent game before they play in France, and we were down by 20 in the first half, and things weren't looking good. And even that game with the Timberwolves, we came out, we were behind 10-0, and I thought, oh man, this could be a long night. But we got down 20, and so I was sure this is going to be another terrible game like the Sixers game. But the guys fought back. They cut it to 7 at halftime. And in the second half, at one point, I think maybe early in the fourth quarter, we got down by 18, and we fought back. But again, we're playing against players without Bagley and Duran, and Noel didn't play, and Bogey didn't play. So here's something that I can, I don't know if I can create a buzz with this or not, because I'm sure it's not true, but I've seen in my lifetime in all sports, not really in football, but in baseball and in basketball, where a player all of a sudden for some reason was out of the lineup. I've even seen games in baseball for the Tigers where a guy's been taken out in the middle of the game, and it was because they were traded. So just a little speculation there. Bogey didn't play. It was a non-COVID illness, and so so I thought, I'm sure we would have heard by now, but that there was still a chance. I thought maybe he was traded, so they want to hold him out so he doesn't get injured if they're in the middle of making a trade. So I don't think that's happening, but. So we played, and Julius Randle has just this insane game. We're right in this game, and if Randle doesn't go for 42 points, he played 40 minutes. Tibbs always plays his players into the ground, his best players, and 40 minutes, 15 for 24, 4 for 7 on threes, 8 for 8 from the line, 15 rebounds, 4 assists. I mean, he's a good player, and he's had a really good year this year. He not so good last year, really good the year before. But if he doesn't have a game like that, we probably win. And also Brunson was really great. He had played 42 minutes, 9 for 17, 2 for 4 on threes, and he's a really nice player. So we're right in this game. It was a close game. And if those guys hadn't gone off so much, who knows what would have happened. But Saddiq had 21 points, 36 minutes, 6 for 14, which isn't very good, but he made up for it. 5 for 10 and 4 for 4. So he's had 21 points, and he took 14 shots. And so the 6 for 14 is not efficient, but it more than makes up for it when you're 5 for 10 on threes and 4 for 4 on free throws. He had 6 rebounds and 1 assist. Minus 20, so he had the second worst plus minus. Ivy had minus 21, so again he had lower than everybody else on the team. But it was great to have Livers back. He was in the lineup again before that, but he played 39 minutes, and he was 4 for 9. he had 11 points, 3 for 8 on threes, 6 rebounds, 3 assists. So he's looking good, and I'm so happy that he's back in and getting minutes. Because again, I'm like a broken record, but we need to find out about our players. We need to play our young players. We need to find out who can do what. We need to, it's going to decide a lot of things: who we trade for, who we draft, who we sign in free agency. We got to find out who's going to stay, who might go, who we want to sign for how much. There's so many questions to be answered. And the biggest thing, though, I still will say, why it's so disappointing not to have Cade is that Cade can't develop. So these other young guys, they need to develop, and so they just need to get minutes and go through their ups and downs. And they're still always throughout your career. Even veteran players have ups and downs, but it's so much more magnified when you're a rookie or a second-year player. So again, we're playing without Duren, and he was just tearing up the league before he's missed these last games. And all these games, it seems like we're always playing against a big player. We had to play against Rudy Gobert, and we had to play against I can't think of the Knicks big guy right now, but he was dominating at the beginning of the game, and he was blocking shots, and it looked like we couldn't stop him, but he kind of faded away a little bit there. But Randall's tough inside, and so anyway, Stu, he been out with a shoulder injury, so he's missed like at least the 3 games prior to this, and he only had 6 points, and he was 3 for 6 and 0 for 3 on threes. His 3-point shot, which was so fabulous, has been struggling, and again, it doesn't help when he's been in and out of the lineup or injured, and so I still am very confident in him. He had 9 rebounds in limited minutes because, like I said, he got 2 fouls right away, then he picked up his 3rd foul in the second quarter. Ivy had 21 points. But it wasn't a pretty 21. He played 37 minutes, and he was 7 for 19, which isn't very good. And he was 2 for 8 on threes, but he was 5 for 6 from the line. He did have 5 rebounds and 6 assists, which he still, he was really bad in the first half. Second half, he shot much better and showed, again, his future could be very bright for that young man. It's just going to depend on how he develops, and he needs to get, a little more consistency with the shot. Knox, playing against this former team that drafted him, that didn't play. They played him this rookie year, then they kind of left him on the bench, and he was kind of, everybody dogged him and stuff, but he had a great game, so I was really happy for him. 16 points. He was 5 for 6 from the floor, 3 for 4 on threes, and 3 for 4 from the line. Burks had 14 points against his old team, 5 for 8 from the floor, and 4 for 6 on threes. And Alec Burks played 21 minutes in a game that's close, and you're right in it. I don't even know why he doesn't start. Like when Bojan doesn't start, why don't you start Burks? Why doesn't Burks play 30-some minutes? I for the life of me, I don't understand. He's 31 years old. He's in his prime, and here again, he's on fire, and he only plays 21 minutes. So I wish I could ask Coach Casey. I would love to find out that. I would like to find out about Noel. So I'm going to jump back further towards the Pelicans game, and that was we lost 116 to 110, and we were playing without Stu, Bagley, and Duren, so we had none of our bigs, and they have a really good team, but they're playing their 2 best players by far, Zion, and they didn't have their 2 best players, and so there's a lot to be said there that they would be a different team too, but they did have Valanciunas, so he destroyed us. He's this big body, very skilled, but big and strong, and he was 12 for 15, 33 points, 15 rebounds, 3 assists. He just carved us up, and we had no answer for him. So that that game was a 6-point game. If we had our post players there, we probably would have won. If Valanciunas would have dominated, if we would have had Bagley, or if we would have had Duren, I think we win that game. But Bay had 20 points in 31 minutes, 5 for 14, 1 for 4, but not very good percentages, but 9 for 10 from the line and 10 rebounds, which is huge. He was minus 14, worst plus minus on the team. Bojan, 22 points, 36 minutes, 9 for 19, only 1 for 7 on threes. So this is the game before the Knicks game. And So who knows that he may have even been sick, even though he had 20 points, but he played 31 minutes, but he could have been starting to be sick. That was 2 days later. He was out against the Knicks. So Noel had 4 points, 19 minutes, 2 for 3, only one rebound. So again, we didn't have any post players, so why does he even only play 19 minutes? So Killian, 17 points, 30 minutes, 7 for 10, 3 for 3 on threes, and so he was fabulous. 6 assists. Ivy had 12 points, 34 minutes, 4 shooting again, 4 for 15, 0 for 6 on threes. So 4 for 5 from the line, and 7 rebounds and 6 assists, which are good numbers. And Burks, 7 points, 3 for 8, 19 minutes. So you know how I feel about that. So we're still anxiously awaiting for the first trades in the whole league. To see this in the NBA, to see nobody making trades, it just blows my mind, and it blows a lot of other people's minds. Why, all these teams that are, the whole league is compacted real close. There's no runaways. There's no runaway team in the West, and the East is really, I think the Celtics and the Bucks are at top, but the Bucks have been losing now, and Giannis has been hurt, and Giannis has got shut down a couple games. He had 7 points only the other night, so I don't understand it. Like I mentioned in the last podcast about trades, where what's going to happen, I don't know, but I do think that Bojan is the best player with the best contract that a team can get him for 3 playoff runs. If you're a contending team and you can have a player like Bojan Bojanovic and for 3 playoff runs this year and the next 2 years, and then have the option, if things go bad, the third year you can cut him for only $2 million. I mean, who doesn't want that? And even Burks is, he's signed for 2 playoff runs. And like I said, his numbers are as good or better than Bojan's, except that he plays a third less of the playing time. So those guys, and Noel, and again Saddiq is on the trading block, and I think we could package, and we have flexibility financially, and we should be able to be the easiest team and the best team to make a trade with. So I'm excited about that, and again I'll reiterate what I've been saying over and over again, is we don't make a trade and we don't just give our players away, and we come up with some assets, but I just cannot understand why we wouldn't. And again, I cannot understand why everybody is waiting. So thank you for listening, and if you're listening on Spotify, please leave a 5-star review if you'd like, and on YouTube we can subscribe. It's free, and like it, and that helps us out at this podcast. My wife has helped so much, and I still struggle with editing. Things go wrong that I think I got it figured out, and then I need her help. And so thank her very much, and thank you, my nephew Nathan, for getting me started. I hope you can do something nice for somebody to make their day better. You just can be a nice word, or you can just help a family member, do something that lightens their load a little bit. Have a great day. Go Pistons.